Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 16th episode of the AI Healthcare Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Reed, and today we are joined with my friend, Henry Hayes, who is an adjunct instructor at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, co founder of Disrupt Ready, and he's also a board member of the Greater New Orleans Bioscience Economic Development District. Thank you so much for your time today, Henry.
Good to be here.
Okay. What made you decide to go into AI specifically in the healthcare space?
So we have had a company, Dylan, that's been kind of tracking emerging technologies pretty closely for the last 8 years. And
Mm-hmm.
so for most of that journey, we tracked what we called the essential eight, which were eight kind of technologies that were in some version of coming to the mainstream. AI was one of them. You know, the blockchain, virtual augmented reality, robotics, 3D printing, the IoT, etc. And up until last year, November, again, AI was kind of one of the eight. Well, OpenAI launches GPT-3.
Mm-hmm.
And as you know, it took all the oxygen out of the room. So we still track those eight, but most of our work has gone towards kind of AI gap analysis, strategic advice, and then we build um, language models. So that's how it's come to be.
Awesome. And, being located in Baton Rouge, I growing up, me being from Texas, which was, right across the street, I remember the economy of Baton Rouge always being more of a big energy and a big shipping economy. How has the economy of Baton Rouge changed specifically when it comes to embracing AI technology in healthcare?
Well, we're not there yet. I think we're still, if it's a baseball game, Dylan, I think we're bottom of the first, top of the second inning, meaning I think the stats are still a third of U.S. adults do not have a ChatGPT account, or another LLM account. So there's still some work to do for sure. But I think by the week, we're almost seeing the drumbeat get louder and louder for what this can do, how to use it, what it is and what it isn't.
Mhm.
So the transformation has begun, but we're by no means anywhere near done.
Mhm. Now, was there particularly, was it a person? Was it an organization that came to Baton Rouge and was like, "Oh, this would be a great place to invest and to train people in AI technology"?
No, it's really more the idea. And look, here, you got to understand some macroeconomic themes, right? Post COVID, where we all learned that
Mm-hmm.
remote work was doable
Mm-hmm.
and really a fabric of kind of almost every job now. I think that really helped usher in faster adoption of a
Mm-hmm.
lot of kind of AI ideas, um, regardless of where you are. So I think the content is the king, not the location. Um, so I think that kind of forced innovation, as I like to call it, really helped,
Mm-hmm.
for where we are down south, and I think we're going to continue to see that.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see, and it bleeds into my next question nicely. How do you see the Southern United States positively contributing to the AI economy that we're seeing?
Well, I think that it's got a real chance to do that. I think, look, the engineering talent is largely going to be concentrated on the West Coast,
Mm-hmm.
pocket of the East Coast, and then overseas. But I think the extent to which small businesses and medium-sized businesses in every part of the the South can win. So I think it's the businesses that understand what is this, what isn't it, and then employing it are gonna be the ones that win.
Mhm. Now, would you say that part of it has to do with the fact that it's a lower cost of living? You still have access to world class hospitals, as well as to as well kind of that right to work versus kind of unionized argument that we still have in the United States.
Well, again, back to the COVID
Hmm.
effect, I think what you saw is a lot of folks fleeing expensive
Hmm.
urban centers for more affordable living. I think the bigger question now becomes affordability of homes, and that's
Hmm.
maybe another topic for another day. But I think your generation tends to like to get out and explore things and
Hmm.
maybe rent, not buy. And like I said, I think one of the top qualifications these days is how good is the internet?
Hmm.
And I think places in the South are obviously quickly coming um, to lead the way there, and I think that's going to continue. So to me, it's less about location and it's more about the skill set the person brings,
Hmm.
regardless of where they are.
Hmm. And how have you seen the skill set amongst kind of the Baton Rouge population in AI from kind of when you first started working at LSU up until now?
Again, it's early,
Mm-hmm.
so those that want to learn are rapidly picking this up. But the flip side of that coin is also seen, whereby
Mm-hmm.
folks that are pushing back on it for a bunch of different reasons, we're seeing that too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's early, but a lot of work to do on both sides. But I think the early signs I like to see, Dylan, are those that kind of get it and the light bulb turns on.
Mm-hmm.
They're quickly and rapidly learning this, because that's that's kind of what this technology offers. We can quickly and rapidly pick it up if you're willing to do the work. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's the ones that maybe dig their heads in and give excuses as to why it won't work, or kind of some of the misunderstandings of the technology
Yeah.
that are kind of falling behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's from kind of what I've observed is that there's still a lot of fear of kind of the capabilities of what this technology can do. Specifically, I can speak the best to the healthcare sector.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, healthcare is my background for the principal parts of my adulthood, so I can speak to it. And there's a lot of disruptive landscape still in
Mm-hmm.
the healthcare space, whether it's decades over decades market complacency combined with pretty pronounced customer frustrations, patient frustrations, and then good old fashioned tension points, right? Um, Things that have been kind of artificial in nature, but
Mm-hmm.
don't allow for disruption. I think a technology like artificial intelligence only speeds that up. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the user experience combined with the user interfaces, Dylan, will tell the test of who wins and who loses in healthcare. But forget low hanging fruit. There's fruit on the ground in healthcare. I think for those that don't want disruption, buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride in the next
Mm-hmm.
decade for healthcare.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you, and I'm kind of one of those ones. I don't know about you, but it's put me on the roller coaster, and I want to see it go as fast as I possibly can.
Yeah. Well, look, at the end of the day, it should be about patient care and
Mm-hmm.
people getting better, and that's going to lead to discussion. You have a lot of pockets of margin that have been, in my mind, unearned, and they're
Mm-hmm.
being protected. And I think that's not necessarily aligned with patient care. And so these technologies will quickly come to the table, and those that provide patients a better experience at sometimes a lower cost will quickly get uptake.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen examples of this before, whether it's rideshare or crowdsourcing or some of the other advancements. But again, healthcare is behind, it's way
Mm-hmm.
behind.
Yeah.
And so the time has come.
Mm-hmm. And then it's depending upon where you are in the country. If you're in a more urban area versus a more rural area, just let's just take the Louisiana for example. If I remember the last time we talked is if you're in a more urban parish versus a more rural parish, that can be like the make or break um, depending upon what kind of healthcare you end up getting.
For sure. And look, back to the COVID story, we saw forced innovation with telehealth. A lot of the specialists that kind of don't have four walls and a roof in urban parishes or counties around America.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have access to that with telehealth, and that's worked pretty well. I think you're going to continue to see ripples of that, and it just makes sense when someone's got to drive 200 miles to see a cardiologist or a specialist,
Mm-hmm.
that they can do a large majority of that appointment via telehealth. So those are coming a lot are already here,
Mm-hmm.
but those kinds of advancements they make a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm. And how would you like Louisiana State University to become part of the kind of greater AI healthcare conversations that we're seeing on a national level?
Well, I tip my hat to my alma mater because I was part of a class that we uh, put on this fall where it was kind of disruptive in nature. We brought private parts of the business economy together with the public resources of the state flagship university, whereby we taught students how to build large language models that solved kind of modern day problems for these businesses. And so there was a lot of wins there. Uh,
Mm,
Businesses learned what the power of the technology could be. The students learned, kind of how to network with these business executives, and
mm,
then they learned how to build these cutting edge AI tools. So it's things like that to me that are
mm,
going to continue to put schools like LSU at the forefront,
mm,
because the need is immense, and somebody's got to fill the need.
mm. And yeah, no, how I actually found out about all the work y'all have been doing at LSU is I came across, I can't think of the television station off the top of my head, but it's the local station down in Baton Rouge. And I was reading the article, and when you and I talked, if I recall correctly, that the majority of those students that actually had the opportunity to present were offered full-time employment after those presentations.
That's right. Yeah, because the business appetite is immense for
Mm,
this, and so those young people are going to get really good opportunities.
mm. And what is one thing that um, you that Congress needs to understand about AI in healthcare, specifically kind of what you're seeing on the ground in Baton Rouge and at LSU? I understand, you've been saying that it's still early, but kind of what is that one thing that is on Henry Hayes's mind that's like, this is something that's very important?
I think people have got to get educated first
Uh huh.
before anything else, before we make laws, before we try to regulate, even before people invest their money. You have to understand and have a base foundational kind of education for what this is and what it isn't, because that really clears up a lot of the cheap headline stuff, the clickbait, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the Schwarzenegger robots are going to kill us all mentality. And because when you have that, you can make then sound decisions. When you don't,
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how a cogent thought process is concluded. So I think it begins with education,
Mm-hmm.
and that's from a non-coding kind of non-Python perspective, and everyone can get that. It's readily accessible. It doesn't take as long as people think, but
Mm-hmm.
when that education takes hold, that's when a lot of the power of this technology can be unlocked. But that's what I would say to the folks in Washington is first, you have to kind of, it's like saying, do you want to start to try and speak a foreign language and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
one word, of that language? That's gonna be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first big step I'd take in that order.
Mhm. And yeah, well, when it comes to, from a personal perspective, I think if you want to create policy on something like AI, you need to have an understanding of the back end and how the model and how the technology works, because then you're basically, just I like to use the image of you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and hopefully something sticks.
Yeah, that's a good metaphor. I agree with that.
Hmm. Now I got to ask you. I know. So I'm wearing my Aggie jacket here, and I know you're based in Baton Rouge. Where do you see the rankings? I got to ask you this question. Where do you see the rankings next year?
Well, college football changes almost by the week, so let's talk again in late July, and I'll be able to give you a better answer. Because with NIL, who knows, man? Seriously, it's the coaching changes and moves, and
Mhm.
um, it's a wild ride. The league changes a lot, obviously with Texas and Oklahoma coming into the SEC, but uh, I wish I could give you a better answer. But and then of course the 12-team playoff starts next year, so that'll be interesting.
Mhm. No, it will be. Yeah. Well, it's I can never figure out the math behind it. I'm like, how do you, like, someone like Georgia? You're undefeated, and then you lose to Bama, and then all of a sudden you're not in the championship. Same thing with Florida State. I'm like, what's the logic behind that?
Yeah, they're trying to clear that up, and we'll see if this becomes a better product. But look, SEC folks are, you know, we'll be watching regardless.
Awesome. And where can people find more about you, Henry, and kind of the work you're doing at LSU?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn at Henry Hayes, Hays, and then we run a company called Disrupt Ready that helps businesses trying to understand what this technology is and how to use it,
Mhm.
um, get educated on it, and then use it. So that's our mission. It's something we're passionate about. We're at disruptready.com, and 2024 is going to be a big year for us. So be happy to meet and chat with as many folks as possible.
Awesome. Thank you again. And do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Podcast episodes are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And do not forget to check out my newsletter, the AI Healthcare Report, on LinkedIn. This is Dylan Reed signing off. Thank you so much again for your time, Henry.
Thank you.